Can you still feel the grass under your feet, the distant thump of a drum beat, and the electric anticipation in the summer air when the crowd erupted as the first chord rang out? There was something truly magical about the music festivals of the 1960s, a moment when America's fields and parks transformed into havens of freedom, unity, and unfiltered sound. The scent of patchouli mingled with the cool breeze as young dreamers gathered in tie-dyes, and denim, sharing laughter, stories, and songs that became the heartbeat of a generation. These festivals weren't just about the music. They were about finding yourself among strangers who instantly felt like friends, moving to the same rhythm beneath open skies. Every note, every lyric, and every muddy step became a story whispered through the decades. Have you ever caught yourself humming a tune and suddenly remembered the wild, swirling colors, or the way the world seemed full of possibility? As we journey back to those iconic stages and sun-drenched fields, let's rediscover what made these moments unlike anything before or since, and see just how 60s music festivals sparked something the world still craves today. It's hard to imagine now, but before the 1960s, the idea of gathering tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, of people in an open field just for music was almost unthinkable. Back in the late 1950s, concerts were usually confined to smoky nightclubs, ornate theaters, or the hushed halls of high schools and community centers. If you wanted music, you dressed up, took your seat, and filed out when the show was over. But by the early 60s, the world was teetering on the edge of cultural transformation, and America's youth were hungry for something new, a way to connect, express themselves, and listen to music as part of a living, breathing crowd. As the 1960s dawned, folk music emerged as the soundtrack of a restless generation. Coffee houses in Greenwich Village and San Francisco's North Beach buzzed with the voices of Joan Baez, Bob Dylan, and Pete Seeger. But the movement didn't stay cooped up in city corners for long. The seeds of the American Music Festival were first sown at events like the Newport Folk Festival, which had its beginnings in 1959 in the idyllic seaside town in Rhode Island. This festival welcomed a blend of old-time singers and young, idealistic troubadours, all performing beneath a summer sky. Newport became famous for moments that shaped the future, such as the 1965 afternoon when Dylan stunned audiences by plugging in an electric guitar, a move that sent shockwaves through the folk establishment. You might recall reading about that fateful event, or maybe you even heard tales from a friend who was there, standing in the sun clutching a program as purists booed and others cheered. That blend of excitement and controversy would become a hallmark of the festivals that followed. But Newport was only the beginning. By the mid-60s, a new wave of festivals was about to sweep across the country, each a unique reflection of its time and place. It's surprising to note that the largest gathering of its kind before the rock era wasn't even for folk or rock music. It was the Monterey Jazz Festival, launched in 1958. It gathered fans for a weekend of improvisation, but it hinted at what was possible when music lovers left behind their chairs and routines to spend days together, simply enveloped in sound. Could anyone have predicted back then just how quickly music festivals would outgrow their roots, bringing not just musicians but entire tribes of listeners together? By 1967, the shift toward larger, more ambitious festivals was in full swing, mirroring the rapid changes of American society. The Vietnam War raged on, the civil rights movement galvanized hearts, and young people everywhere searched for ways to push back against conformity. Outdoor music festivals became a safe harbor, a place to lose yourself or find like minds. And so, sprung from that heady social mix, the legendary Monterey Pop Festival came to life in the summer of love. Monterey Pop, sometimes called the granddaddy of all rock festivals, arrived in June 1967 like a sudden thunderstorm. For 3 days, nearly 50,000 people flocked to the California coast, watching Janis Joplin wail her soul, Jimi Hendrix set his guitar ablaze, and the Who destroy their instruments in a ritual of noise and fury. If you were lucky enough to be within earshot that weekend, you probably felt the ground vibrate beneath your feet. But what's truly astonishing is that Monterey Pop wasn't about making money. The organizers, including John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas, created it as a non-profit, intending to elevate rock music to the level of high art. Imagine stepping into the festival grounds, not expecting slick productions or big profits, but simply hoping to experience a celebration of life. And isn't that, at its core, what drove so many to these gatherings? Consider this. In 1967 alone, small local festivals sprouted up across America, from the Midwest to the far reaches of the Pacific Northwest, each taking on its own local flavor and cause, from anti-war rallies to unity concerts. Many early festivals operated with a pass-the-hat model, relying on donations and goodwill to keep things rolling. And with each successful turnout, barriers fell. Parents who once grimaced at rock and roll were now being convinced to attend, with their children in tow. Can you recall a time when your family gathered to listen to live music outdoors, maybe with a blanket and picnic basket, swept up in the shared magic? Another fascinating detail. Some of these early proto-festivals weren't officially concerts at all. Instead, gatherings like the Human Be-In, held in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park in January 1967, fused music with counterculture, a mosaic of poetry, protest, and communal energy. There, thousands listened to live performances and shared in spontaneous dance, conversation, and sometimes impromptu group meditation. No tickets, no fences, just a sprawling, open invitation to be present in the moment. The momentum didn't stop with the West Coast. By 1968, even the heartland of America was hosting its own versions, big and small, sanctioned and underground. From rural farm fields in Iowa to college campuses in Ohio, young Americans were eager to reimagine what music could mean on a grand scale. Looking back, it's remarkable how even the weather became part of the experience, those sudden rainstorms that sent everyone scrambling for cover, or the golden hours just before sunset, when the world seemed to pause as a single melody drifted over the crowd. But bigger things were yet to come, and the spirit of experimentation and freedom was about to collide with the boundaries of what anyone thought possible. The wild, swirling tides of the late 60s would bring festivals on an epic scale, peaceful in intent, but not always in practice. The summer of 1969 loomed large, with talk of a festival for peace and music that would shake the world's consciousness and leave a legacy that endures to this day. So as we remember the earliest chapters of America's music festival story, it's awe-inspiring to realize how a few gatherings under the open sky became the heartbeat of a generation. Did you attend, or wish you could have, the earliest Newport celebrations, Monterey Pop's feverish nights, or some small-town summer evening where the air was thick with anticipation? While these early festivals might have seemed simple or even chaotic, they planted the seeds for something much bigger, a movement that would change not just music, but the very soul of a generation. And as the 60s barreled forward, these gatherings would grow larger, louder, and more unforgettable, setting the stage for a musical revolution that still felt today. But the story doesn't end there. How did advances in technology and new ideas about live performance change everything that these first festivals started? The festival scene was about to embark on a bold, new journey. As we look back over the rolling hills, crowded meadows, and sun-dappled afternoons that defined the music festivals of the 1960s, it's clear these gatherings offered far more than just a few days of song and dance. They became a colorful tapestry woven out of freedom, rebellion, joy, and community. From the early, hopeful strumming at Newport to the thunderous, history-making nights of Monterey Pop, and finally to the sprawling, muddy sea of Woodstock, each event reflected the spirit of a generation that dared to dream, challenge the status quo, and come together beneath open skies. These festivals broke down the walls built by geography, race, class, and even taste, inviting everyone, city kids and country dreamers alike, to lose themselves in music and find themselves in the collective hum of kindred souls. The rush of anticipation as acts like Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, or The Who took the stage, the spontaneous dances and midnight sing-alongs, the thrill of being part of a crowd wide enough to seem endless, these moments stitched together not just lifelong memories, but a sense of belonging that still resonates today. It wasn't just about the legendary headliners or the iconic performances, but also the quieter moments, friends sharing sandwiches from battered coolers, strangers locking eyes in wordless understanding, the sun setting behind stages as the crowd held its breath for the next encore. For a few fleeting days, those ordinary fields were transformed into sanctuaries where differences faded and the music was enough to unite tens of thousands. Even as mud caked our shoes or rain sent rivers through the dancing throngs, the shared experience of simply being part of something bigger lingered on, echoing across decades. And while the world has changed since those festival days, their lessons still ring true. The music festivals of the 60s showed us how seeking out joy, especially in the company of others, could change not just a weekend, but the entire shape of a life. They remind us that even in turbulent times, simple joys and shared songs can spark hope and inspire change. Maybe you still find yourself humming those old festival tunes when you're caught up in a moment of nostalgia, or maybe you recall an old ticket stub tucked away in a drawer, a quiet reminder that you were part of a movement that shaped music, culture, and even the very idea of togetherness. Do you remember your own first festival, whether under the blazing sun, in a gentle summer rain, or carried away by the waves of a crowd lost in the music? Or perhaps you wished you'd been there, swept up in the excitement of a time when anything seemed possible and the soundtrack was played live, loud, and for everyone. What songs bring those memories back to life for you now? We'd love to hear your own festival stories. Who did you see? What did you wear? And what impression did those days leave on your heart? Share your memories in the comments below so we can all reminisce together. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more journeys back to the days of tie-dye dreams and carefree anthems. And if you know a friend who would appreciate reliving these unforgettable moments, share this video and invite them to join our growing community of fellow time travelers. After all, as the crowd once swayed arm in arm and voices rose in harmony, those festival days remind us that sometimes the best parts of life are the memories we make together under the open sky, when the music was the message, and for a while the whole world danced as one.